and I was really freaking excited because I thought it was Tegan Knox, but it wasn't, so I was very disappointed, yet excited at the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Rambling Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Pearl, and as you can see behind me if you're watching the video version of the podcast, it's a little bit of a mess down here. I got a ton of my wrestling cards all over the floor, all over my desk. The ones on my desk, they're organized. The ones on the floor, still got to go through. I'm trying to reorganize everything. Like I was in that kind of mood. It's taking a little longer than anticipated, though. I'm sorry. Anyway, today, I know we've been talking a lot about AEW. I know. I said that the last episode. But we're going to talk more about AEW today because Grand Slam is coming up in just 2 days' time on Wednesday. The final Grand Slam in New York. And I am so excited for this show. Alright, this is me in the future. It's not the last Grand Slam in New York. Tony Khan says they're doing 2 now. One next year in Australia and another back at Arthur Ashe. So just keep that in mind for every time that I say this is the last Grand Slam in New York. So sorry. It's gonna be insane. But here's what I'm gonna tell you all right now. If you're going, there is a very nice Home Depot that is within walking distance that you can go to, park in that parking lot, walk 10 minutes to Arthur Ashe, and you're set. You can leave whenever you want. The first Grand Slam we went to, we did not know this. So we parked in a parking garage. You had to be out by 12, but the show didn't end until like 12:45, 1 o'clock. And the first Grand Slam, we had the one and only Bryan Danielson taking on Kenny by God Omega in their first time ever matchup. If you've been looking on the YouTube channel the last day or two, I've been posting Grand Slam highlights from all the years that I've attended. I've been to every Grand Slam, so there's a lot. And this was the first matchup on the main card that we were getting. My cousin Eamon was running a little late. So he hears the entrance music going, and Eamon's like, Nick, I'm running. He's bolting from his parking garage. He went to a different parking garage than we did. Running, because he hears Bryan's music. He hears Omega's music. And in the video of their entrances, I say,
Eamon, I'm sorry. Yeah!
And I start going crazy. 20,000 plus people attended this show. I've never been to a WrestleMania. Remember this. I will be going. Never been to a WrestleMania. I've been to smaller crowds. So this, just sitting in that crowd, the vibes, it was, you had to be there. You had to experience it. Only my videos can only show so much. But going from that Bryan Danielson match, 30-minute time limit draw, we were all fine with it. No issues. Because we thought there'd be a second match. They have yet to have their second match. And I'm hoping before Bryan retires, we get that Kenny Omega rematch and we finally get a winner. Other than that, the other matches were just kind of there. I mean, your Dynamite matches were good. Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. You had the main event for Dynamite. Dr. Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho for the Women's Championship. It was good. But that's starting off with the Bryan and Kenny, ending with Britt and Ruby. I mean, good, give the women a chance. But it was just a weird kind of show. The matches were all good, don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about moments. And this show didn't have many of them. A lot of the moments, however, came on the Rampage taping. You had CM Punk having his first ever AEW match against Powerhouse Hobbs. Everybody in this arena, the 20,000 people that paid for their ticket, got to sit down and watch CM Punk's first match back in years. The actual main event had Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley going up against Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer. I was so excited to see Suzuki. This was the first time that I had the pleasure of sitting in an arena where Suzuki was performing. Now I've seen him front row twice. Eamon had to leave. He had to go get his car. My mom was there because we had an extra ticket. We couldn't give it to anybody. It's always tough getting people to go to these Grand Slam shows. Don't know why. My mom and Eamon left. And I sat and indulged in a very good tag team match where Homicide also showed up. I didn't really know who Homicide was at the time, but I still went crazy because everybody else around me was going crazy. So why not? Grand Slam 2021, I would say it was the first event but it was the worst event. But I'm not saying it was bad. It was still very good. Now, you move on to the next year, Grand Slam 2022. You go from the 20,000 plus people that showed up and bought a ticket the year before down to almost 14,000. You dropped a little bit, but it's the second event. People that wanted to go the first time went. Then they say, oh, you know what? I don't need to go again. Still a very, very good show. I got the cheap seats this time on the side, and I thought they were fine. Never had an issue with them. Your card for Grand Slam 2022 had a ton more moments than the first one. First of all, just to get things started, Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World's Championship. And we got a new champion, the Ocho, Chris Jericho. Crowd was shocked. My friend Bear attended this show. It was his first wrestling show ever, and he got to see Chris Jericho win a championship. He was over the moon. You also had the Acclaimed at the peak of their popularity beat Swerve in Our Glory for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Two giant moments, two title changes. From the first year, you didn't have any title changes. The second year, you got two. And those two moments, insane crowd reactions. The Acclaimed, I would say, is the top moment of the whole night. Nothing going to top that. Nothing. And you still had the Grand Slam Tournament of Champions final with Jon Moxley going up against Bryan Danielson for the second time for the AEW World Championship, where we thought Bryan might win. Nope. Jon Moxley made him pass out. Another crazy moment. So your Dynamite, 3 new champions compared to the first one where there was nothing. You also had Saraya debut, come back to wrestling after years being retired. She wasn't even cleared yet when she came back to AEW. But the funny thing is that we're looking on Twitter like the day of, scrolling through, they're saying, oh, Paige has had some talks with AEW. That's very interesting. She may be coming back to the ring. I've come to learn that if you see news that somebody's been in talks to come back, they're most likely showing up that show later in the night. Saraya comes out, all-timer moment, probably one of my greatest reactions ever. And I was really freaking excited because I thought it was Tegan Nox, but it wasn't, so I was very disappointed, yet excited at the same time. Then you still got Rampage. Sting and Darby Allin versus the House of Black, where the great Muta showed up and made an appearance in AEW, helping Sting and Darby win. Crazy, crazy reaction. And now from here, the great Muta is now in the WWE Hall of Fame. Then you go to Grand Slam 2023, Grand Slam 3, and you drop the attendance a little bit again. It goes from the 14,000 almost to around 11,000. So, I mean, this is what's going to happen when you run in the same place every year. Me personally, I don't know why people don't go. I really don't, because all the shows are fantastic. And your Grand Slam 2023 card, another new Ring of Honor World Champion was crowned. Eddie Kingston finally beat Claudio Castagnoli in front of his home crowd, getting a big-time moment in New York. Eddie Kingston deserved it. First match of the Dynamite card. Crowd was hot as hell. You also have an international championship match, Jon Moxley versus Rey Fenix. It was going great up until Moxley landed on his head after a move, I think. It was just very weird. Moxley was supposed to win this one, but they called an audible and Rey Fenix actually won the international championship. Good for Rey. He had a little run with that belt. He's part of the lineage now. It was just strange. And then you also have the AEW World Championship match, MJF versus Samoa Joe won. The infamous match where Adam Cole jumped and broke his ankle. This is where all of these issues came from, just from this match. Now, the MJF and Samoa Joe would have their rematch at World's End, where Samoa Joe would finally win the AEW World Championship. You got one new champion, 2 new champions. Is that it? No, it's not. You go to Rampage, where the card is not as good as the last 2 years. I'm just going to say it. You had a Ring of Honor World Trios Championship match, where the Mogul Embassy was going up against the Elite. And the Elite freaking won the belts after Brian Cage is going for the drill claw. Adam Page rolled him up. Did not see this one coming at all. Nobody did in the whole arena. But you had Hangman and Swerve doing their face-off during this. So it just added on to their feud. So out of all the years that I've attended Grand Slam, which year do I think was the best? I'm just going to have to say it and say the second one. The Acclaimed winning might be my favorite moment of all time, being in a wrestling arena for a show. Add the fact that you had Saraya coming out, Jericho winning the championship, Moxley winning the championship, the Great Muta showing up. This card was just full of moments, and this is the one that I just tend to remember the most. Going into Grand Slam 2024, I don't think it's going to have as many moments as the other ones, but the matches may be all-timers. I mean, for crying out loud, you got Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness as your main event. That's the match that made me buy the tickets. I did a whole episode on it of the podcast. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. Mariah May versus Yuka Sakazaki. This match is going to be a very hard-hitting Japanese-style match. The Young Bucks versus Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher for the tag titles. Hook versus Roddy Strong for the FTW Championship. We have the opportunity to get some new champions crowned on this show. The quality of matches here, I think it tops all the other 3 Grand Slam shows. And I don't even know what's on Collision yet. I think there was a Jericho match that was announced, but just based off of this Dynamite card, this one will more than live up to the hype. So will you be seated to watch? I know I will. If you're in New York, I hope to see you there. But I've been your host, Nick Pearl, and let's see how this show holds up. Let's keep rambling, everybody.